As you guys probably all know, Jailbreak is wrapping up and the developers have decided to stop doing monthly updates, and I largely feel the game is pretty much complete. However, there are still a few features that I would like to see addressed before the game stops developing forever. These features don't need to be tackled this year necessarily. I would just like to see them handled before the game stops development completely. Of course, this is just my opinion. You might disagree with the things that I think should be addressed, or you might think that there are some big updates that need to happen that I didn't even talk about at all. I'd like to see your perspective in the comments. Just make sure to be respectful, of course. Anyway, without further delay, let's get started. To kick off the list, I think dogs still need a lot of attention. Since they were added over 3 years ago, they've gotten virtually no other changes. They've started to become quite buggy now, and they often freeze up and don't have their walking animations anymore when they're moving around, or they just get stuck. Obviously, I'd like to see that bug get fixed, but beyond that, I think there are still some changes that I'd want to see. First off, I think collisions need to be turned off, since dogs that don't belong to you are really annoying when you run into them. A lot of times, if you're riding with somebody who owns a dog, you'll be running into their dog when you're driving. Secondly, I'd like to see a couple more dog variants. I like to see a Dalmatian, a Golden Retriever, maybe a Labrador. Different dog breeds or different variations of existing dog breeds could be season prices, which I think would be really fun. Also, I think dogs are very annoying to access. They only spawn in one location in the town, and if you die, you have to go all the way back to the dog store. I think that dogs should spawn in all criminal and police bases. The criminals get the bulldog and the police get the German Shepherd. Also, I think there should be an apartment doghouse item which lets you spawn your dog at your apartment. This would give apartments more of a use, and it would be another useful furniture for them. I never use dogs, so I'm not super passionate about this update, but still, I do think that dogs have problems and still need some attention. Next, I'd like to see another endgame vehicle. The concept car was the first Jailbreak vehicle we ever got that cost over 1 million J-Bucks, and I'd like to see another vehicle that's also rather expensive. It gives more of a reason to play the game, and I personally would really like this as it would give me incentive to grind a lot of money. I've always wanted to see the private jet become a purchasable vehicle, maybe for 10 million, since I've always felt that we need a plane that can fit more than 2 people, and I think the private jet would fit that bill perfectly. I think they could slow it down a little bit. It doesn't need to go as fast as it currently does, but I would be willing to take that compromise if it meant we could drive it around anywhere we go. Or maybe we could get a spawnable flying vehicle that has similar stats to the drone, but it would cost at least 10 million, so only a very small percentage of players would be able to use it. These are just a couple ideas. Obviously, the devs can do whatever they want, but I'm curious to hear what you would want to see as a super expensive endgame vehicle. Next, I want to see some other customization options. The customization potential we already have in the game is incredible. There's so much you can do to your cars, and you can even customize things like your guns or apartments or stuff like that. However, I'd like to see other things get the ability to be customized. I've always wished that you were able to customize your parachute, maybe even put on textures. This also goes for the jetpack. I've always wanted a customizable jetpack, and I was a bit disappointed that with the revamp we got of it, we still can't customize it. And then for cars, there are a couple other things that you could do to customize them a little bit more. I'd like to see a hood ornament feature where you could put stuff on the hood of your car. Also, something I've always thought would be cool would be an option to add a weapon to your vehicle. It would be like in Fortnite, where you can drive your car normally, but you can also put a minigun on top of it, or you can put a grenade launcher on top of it. We already have a minigun in Jailbreak, and it would be nice if you could put it on any vehicle. However, this would be a bit too crazy, so maybe it could be restricted only for people that have the SWAT or the Boss Game Pass. I'd also like this feature since there are some vehicles with the minigun that I'd like to take the minigun off of sometimes just to see how they look. But it would also be cool to add the minigun or other weapons to normal Jailbreak vehicles. Imagine seeing a Bugatti with a minigun on top of it. That would be pretty crazy. And finally, I'd like it if we could change the license plate template. In real life, you can get different license plates if you pay a bit more money, so I think this would be perfect for Jailbreak. You can already change what the license plate says, but why not change the actual look of the license plate? The license plates could have iconic Jailbreak structures on them, and we've already seen several different license plates on a few of the newer vehicles. So why not give us the option to choose what license plate we put on the car? I'm pretty satisfied with the current state of customization in Jailbreak, but these are a few things that I think would make it even better. Next, there's a few robberies that I think should get a revamp. I mainly want to see a revamp for the Tomb. It's been over 3 years and it's honestly gotten pretty stale and really repetitive. There's only one possible layout with a certain set of obstacles and it's gotten pretty old. There's so many different ideas for tombs and tomb obstacles out in the real world and in fantasy media that I think the tomb easily warrants itself to having randomly generated floors like the bank and the jewelry store. Maybe a crushing ceiling that's an actual threat. Perhaps they could even sneak in a little more lore regarding the people who built these tombs that existed thousands of years ago in Jailbreak's past. That's the main robbery that I want to see get some attention, though a lot of people want to see the bank truck and the plane get some revamps. To be honest, I'm fine with how they are right now, but I do think they could be made a little bit more fun. For example, I think the plane should probably involve the flyable planes that we have. Also, even though I love the cargo ship, I would make one slight change to it in that we could also use boats to rob the cargo ship, not just helicopters. I'm largely happy with how the robberies are right now, but there are a couple that I would like to see get some changes before the game stops. After that, I'd like to see some changes to Crater City. Even though it's been over 2 years, I still feel like Crater City is pretty bare bones and there still could be more stuff added to it. Although it has its own gun shop, a bank, a garage, and an apartment, there still isn't that much incentive to go there if there's no robberies open. I'd like to see it become a competitor to Rising City and have a lot of players go over there as well. I think one way the devs can do that is by adding a proper criminal base and a proper police base to Crater City. I think it should get a criminal base that's similar to the criminal base in the city, where it only has the pistol, the shotgun, and the rifle. That way players still have a reason to go to the gun shop if they need to equip guns. Likewise, the police base would be similar to the police base nearby the museum. It would be pretty small. That way people can still have a reason to go to the gun shop. I would also like to see a couple other robberies in Crater City. I really want the devs to add one more small store, and I think Crater City would be the perfect location for it. I've always wanted a pizza shop, and we have a pizza Easter egg in the sewer, so why not explain where that pizza came from? Why not put a pizza shop in Crater City? Additionally, I really like how Crater City houses another bank, so I would like to see it house another jewelry store as well. However, with a catch. Instead of it being the same exact jewelry store that we have in Rising City, this would be the 2019 jewelry store. I still think the 2019 jewelry store works really well compared to Jailbreak's current standards, and playing it during OG Jailbreak only reaffirmed my beliefs. It would be a really cool change of pace for players if they had to rob the same store but with two completely different layouts. Next, I still want to see a few more changes to the Jailbreak police team. I'm really happy with the revamp that the devs made to the cop team about a year ago. Now cops, I feel, make a lot more money and are at a pretty comparable level to the criminal team, but they are still behind in a few ways, and I still think there are some issues. First off, I feel criminals have the slight edge because criminals are able to work towards getting those super rare hyperchromes, while cops have nothing like that. Cops don't have a super rare cosmetic that you can get. Therefore, for some players, playing on the cop team feels like a waste of time because they could be grinding on the criminal team and getting closer to a hyperchrome. I don't need the cops to have hyperchromes necessarily, but it would be nice if they also had their own form of unique super rare cosmetics that you can only get from playing as a cop. Perhaps an animated texture that changes color based on your vehicle color. Also, I think the paycheck still needs change. It's still a pretty useless feature in my opinion, and it gives barely any money. Perhaps cops could get a bonus in the number of assists, the number of tases, pit maneuvers, and stuff like that. I think that would be a very good way for the paycheck to help cops. Also, I think the SWAT game pass still sucks, and I think it should give a bit more of a bonus. Just give cops an increase in money per arrest. In my opinion, it should be the equivalent of the duffel bag for the cop team, since the duffel bag gives criminals so much more money compared to people who play for free, and cops pretty much have nothing like that. Cops get 20% extra from the VIP, but criminals get that too. So I think that the SWAT game pass should give probably a 30% increase in money. Finally, I like to see phones and security cameras get a little more change. I think they're a pretty good idea in that they help cops monitor specific locations, and actually if they spot a criminal then it puts a tracking device on them. I really like that. However, Cameras are really difficult to use because they can often freeze up your computer, and it's really nice that phones can help you look at cameras on the go, but I feel like phones could be used for a bit more. I've always wanted to be able to see bounties on the go, since you can only view bounties in 5 specific locations on the map. You have the 3 secret bases, which you can only view at level 4, or if you have the VIP game pass, or you have to go to the prison or the small police base by the museum. That's really inconvenient, and it would be nice if you could view on the go, and I think putting in the SWAT game pass would be a really nice perk. The next feature is something that would probably be a bit complex to implement, but I think it would go a really long way and would help retain a lot of players. This would be income-based matchmaking. My friend Nathader suggested this, and I've seen it posited before by a few other people, and I think it's a fantastic idea. When you're new to the game, you're at such a disadvantage because there are people that are way richer than you and with way better cars. Whether you're a criminal or a cop, it's very, very difficult to compete with people who are far richer than you and have far faster vehicles and way better weapons. This also applies to the opposite side of the spectrum. If you're a super rich player, you're often going to be in servers with a lot of noobs who don't actually pose a threat to you, so you can just play the game unimpeded, and that's not very fun in my opinion. With income-based matchmaking, people would be placed into servers where they have similar amounts of money and similar vehicles and items to one another. Let's say you're in the 100,000 range in terms of money. You've bought maybe the Lambo, a couple vehicles. You haven't bought all the guns, but you've bought the main ones that matter. You would be placed in a server with people that are similar at your level. This way you face a challenge that I feel is appropriate to your skill level, while also ensuring that you aren't totally outclassed. Again, this would be rather complex to implement, but I do think the devs can do it, and I think it would be really helpful for retaining people. I know a lot of my friends that started playing Jailbreak but then quit rather early because the challenge was just too much for them, and I've always felt that Jailbreak is rather beginner unfriendly, so I think this solution would definitely help with a lot of that. In third place, I'd like to see a revamp to crew battles and game modes. Now, these are 2 separate features, but I think that they can be combined and both made better as a result. Game modes are an awesome idea for Jailbreak and can help make the gameplay a lot more lively, but in execution they've been significantly flawed. First off, locking them behind Robux was a pretty bad idea as it made it inaccessible to 99% of the player base. Right now you can only play them in private servers, and back when they were first added, you had to purchase tokens with Robux to activate them. Second, game modes were very hard to activate in public servers because people did not vote for them. The game modes required pretty much the entire server to vote yes. A lot of people would vote no or just wouldn't vote at all, and even a couple of people would mean that the game mode wouldn't be started. Third, game modes took place in the same server instead of teleporting you to another game, which made it disruptive to people who wanted to play the game normally and weren't interested in playing game modes. In my opinion, game modes should be free for all people to play. They should not require Robux to activate or require private servers. Additionally, I think that they should teleport people to another server, like how when you go to the trading hub, you're teleported to another server, or when you activate crew battles. But how does this connect to crew battles? Well, let me explain. In my opinion, probably the biggest issue with crew battles and the main reason why people aren't interested in them is because they're so limited. There's only one specific game mode you can do in crew battles, which is fighting other crews and trying to get up the leaderboard. I think crew battles should be integrated with game modes, essentially letting people in crews participate in game modes. For example, if people were interested in doing a battle royale, they could activate a battle royale and then everybody in the crew could participate in it, or if they wanted to, they could extend the invite to other crews that are in the same server. Perhaps the battle royale could be ranked like in Fortnite, and crews with higher ratings would have to fight against other crews with higher ratings, so the battle royale would be a bit more difficult. The player who would win the battle royale would have the rating increased for their crew. And this system could obviously apply to any other game mode that the devs would want to implement, like the alien infection or the jet ski mode. And I would also like to see other game modes added, like maybe some disaster survival modes. Unfortunately, now that Critstykes, the developer who was most responsible for crews, has left the developer team, I don't think we're gonna see a crew revamp anytime soon. In fact, we might never get it at all. However, in the off chance that we do, I'd like to see game modes integrated into crew battles, and that way players are offered a larger variety of stuff to do. For the penultimate update that I would like to see added to Jailbreak before it stops developing, I want one more update to apartments and houses. I'm pretty happy with the revamp, but there are still some things that I find annoying about them and some features that I think would improve them significantly. First off, customizing apartments and houses is still kind of tedious. To even open the customization menu, you have to first close the chat since the chat blocks the menu. And then to move an item, you have to have the customization menu open. And it was honestly a bit difficult for me to figure out how to customize apartments and houses when they first implemented this system. Also, it's really annoying that you can't fully align a furniture to face one direction. You have to manually turn it just a little bit. It would be nice if they could snap and face forward, backward, left, or right. If players wanted to move them more precisely, perhaps they could have a feature where they could toggle that on and off. Kind of like how if you want to have your gun focused, you can press V, and if you don't want it focused, you can just turn that off. Also, within the apartment customization menu, there needs to be a better sorting system in my opinion. I don't like how there's a bunch of stuff thrown into the floor category. I think there should be a category for chairs, maybe a category for tables, beds, and maybe an exclusive category for season items. Also, all of the items are automatically sorted by alphabetical, but I would like more options with regards to that. Like the trading and garage UI, I'd like to see options for us to sort by expensive, newest, popular, etc. Finally, there are some other furnitures and features that I think would make apartments a bit more popular. I think in the apartment and house garages, you should be able to spawn any vehicle you want and they could function basically like the normal garages. The garages are pretty much useless. Their only purpose is to show the vehicle that you're currently equipped with, and I think it should just be the garage menu. Second, instead of only letting you have 3 guns on gun racks, I think you should be able to have a gun shop menu inside the apartment. This could cost maybe 100 or 200,000 J-Bucks, maybe even a little bit more, but I think it would be worth it. It would give me more of a reason to use my house or apartment, as if I run out of guns, I can just stop by and stock up. Also, I think there should be furniture similar to the vending machines that let you access some features around the map. Maybe there could be a glider vending machine. I'd really love to see a doghouse furniture that lets you spawn your dog at your apartment, and I'd also like to see a jetpack spawning furniture. Now, does this sound a bit overpowered? Perhaps, but I really don't think it is. When you spawn at your apartment, you're at a little bit of a disadvantage anyway, since you don't have that many guns or things to get. You can't spawn any vehicle that you want. And especially if you're in the cities, it takes a little bit to get out of your apartment since you have to open the door, go down the elevator, and then go pick up your stuff. Also, if you're driving around the map doing various jailbreak activities, your apartment will probably be just as far as like the jetpack spawn or the doghouse. And none of these features are that overpowered in my opinion anyways, even if you spawn with them. Also, I think the vaults should be tweaked a little bit. I think that if you're doing it solo, you should still be able to use the vault. I don't really understand why you need 2 or more people. And I think the vault should give more money if you're in a more expensive apartment. Overall, I do like how apartments are right now, but I do think that if they were just changed a little bit more, they would be perfect. But the final thing I'd like to see done with Jailbreak before it stops updating forever is one final ultimate rework of the UI. I don't think the Jailbreak UI is very good. It just doesn't look very visually appealing. Some UI, like the garage, just looks really ugly. Some UI, like the safe UI, is pretty annoying to use since you can't see what stuff you own and what stuff you don't own. And a lot of the UI is still kind of inconsistent with one another. The gun shop UI and the garage UI looks like it's from 2 different games. I'd like to see an overall rework of the UI that makes everything consistent, uses the same font. However, I do want to say that I don't think the UI is in an absolutely terrible state. I just think it could be made a little bit more consistent and some UI could be improved. So I hope this doesn't come off as me trashing the UI or anything like that. It's nowhere near as bad as some other games, and it's not nearly as much of an eyesore as the typical simulator UI. But that's gonna wrap up my video discussing 10 updates I want to see done with Jailbreak before the game stops developing. What do you think? Are there any updates that you want to see Jailbreak receive before it stops? What do you think still needs to be addressed in the game? Make sure to comment all your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoy my work, please consider becoming a channel member. Big shout out to my 4 current channel members, Wowie, Silent Polarization, No Good Nick, and Blake. Also, don't forget to unlock my tires in Jailbreak with the code YouTubeNoobFreak. Check out my merch in my group, join my Discord, and overall, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Take care.